Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. In today's video, we're going to be talking a little recruiting because the football team is off of spring practice today, but they will be back tomorrow. And then we got a big scrimmage coming up on Thursday night, so we'll have coverage on that. But I want to start this video off talking about Cam Seldon because it sounds like he's not expected to be back with the team until like late September, maybe even early October. And we know that with this team, whenever things like that kind of come out, whether it's from insiders or whether it's from the staff, it usually takes the players a little bit longer to actually get back healthy enough to play with the team. So I'm personally not expecting for Cam Seldon to be back until the third Saturday in October in our home game versus Alabama. And we're going to have to go to that transfer portal, okay? I mean, that's just going to be an absolute and total must because that running back room is starting to look a little thin, especially if one of the other players decides to leave us in this spring window that's coming up, and we just don't know what's going to happen with that. So we have to do it. We also know that running backs tend to be a little bit more injury prone. They take a whole lot of hits. We like to rotate hours though, right? Like, there's going to be 3 guys that will for sure be rotated in. So that can kind of help to keep them healthy. But right now, we don't know who that third guy is. I mean, really, we don't even know who the second guy is, in all honesty. We know about Dylan Sampson. Cam Seldon was supposed to be the second one. And I was kind of leaning more towards Peyton Lewis, but we haven't seen him play college football yet. He will be healthy, and he will be back for summer ball, so that's good to note. And then we've got Khalifa Keith, and we've also got Deshaun Bishop. So we've got some good options, but again, we need some more depth. So I'm definitely expecting for this team to go out in the transfer portal and target somebody in this spring window. The great news is running back is not the most difficult position to go out and find somebody. There's plenty of them out there. We just have to find someone that fits our scheme, fits our system. And again, there's going to be plenty of them out there. I think that maybe the culture fit might be the biggest thing. That would be a factor for us. But if you look at our scheme, if you look at our system, I want to say that last season, we were like top 5 as far as running backs yards before contact. So what that means is our scheme and our offensive line, which I think we've upgraded our offensive line from last season, is going to open up holes, okay? Running backs will have some great opportunities to make some plays. So that's really good news. And I think personally, okay, if it was me, I would go out and try to find a bigger body guy that we know can pass protect for Nico. And again, fits the skill sets that we want, fits the culture that we want. Maybe go out and try to get you a veteran from a lower classification school that can ball, okay? Let him come on up to Tennessee, play SEC ball, have a good chance to get some NFL draft buzz going for themselves. And just understand, hey, you're going to be sharing time, so it's not going to be a whole lot of wear and tear. But if you come out, if you show out, then you have a good chance to get drafted. And I think that will be the approach heading into the spring window for the transfer portal. But there's a couple of other positions that I think that Tennessee more than likely will be targeting while we're talking about this. We'll start off with the backup center, so probably like a younger guy, again, maybe from a lower classification school that wants to come up and compete with the big dogs. So, we need to be trying to find that. And maybe even someone who can be a left guard for us, okay, like a potential starter. Those will be my 3 right now that I think that this staff is going to target out in that transfer portal, but running back's going to be one for sure. I'm starting to feel like backup center is going to be another one that's absolutely for sure cut and dry. And we'll see what happens as far as who's planning on leaving us out of that transfer portal window that's coming up here in the spring. And then we'll have to, maybe go out and grab some more players. But please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All right, now on to recruiting. I'm using On3 today, y'all, just because, I normally use 24/7 Sports, but neither one of these sites is paying me. So let's just switch it up and let's use On3. And we can see right here that our class is currently ranked 10th in the entire country, 4th in the SEC. And let's just take a quick look at some of the commitments that we already have. I think we have 7 of them. We've got GMAC, Ethan Utley, Jack Van Dorselier, Dylan Lewis, Justin Baker, Joakim Dotson, and Tyler Redmond. And I want to send a big happy belated birthday shout out to the late great Sean Taylor, who's one of my all-time favorite football players. I think he's probably the best safety of all time. He's 1A and 1B with my favorite Tennessee player, Eric Berry. And the first player that we're going to be talking about today is Laganza Shady Hayward, who reminds me so much of these 2 players. I think maybe even more so, I would say Sean Taylor, just because he's a little bit of a bigger body. And he can also play linebacker. He can pretty much do anything on defense, but he's going to be a big-time threat on offense as well. And he also reminds me of Caleb Downs. I think that would be the most recent person that I could compare him to. And you can see that he's listed at 6'1", about 200 pounds. He's from Toombs County High School in Lyons, Georgia. He just received a crystal ball prediction 2-hour volunteers from Steve Wiltfong, who pretty much is the go-to guy for crystal balls. So that's big news. But P and I already knew that he was more than likely going to be coming to Rocky Top. You could just kind of tell in a whole lot of his comments. But take a look down here. He's got several visits set up. And you can see our volunteers on June the 21st. That's going to be his last official visit. I think that he's going to be committing to our volunteers maybe shortly after that visit or somewhere in that time frame. We've been saying that for about a month now. And Shady is definitely my favorite player in this entire class from top to bottom. I mean, because he can play offense, defense, special teams, he can do it all. But whenever you look at his upside on defense, anytime that a coaching staff says, hey, man, listen, you can play linebacker or safety, that's what you want to see. That means that that's a bigger, stronger, faster, very versatile athlete that, I mean, literally is going to help your team out tremendously. And if you think about all the players that I just compared him to, that's exactly what they were. Pretty much safety, linebacker hybrids. And, you know, I see no difference with a guy like Shady. He's going to be able to come in and give so much to our volunteers. Now, he's not committed, so let me make sure that I clear that up for everybody. He's not officially committed to our volunteers, but we are definitely anticipating that he will be pretty soon. It's going to be a huge influx of talent coming in. And, you know, I think that he will be probably one of the third or fourth guys that comes off of the board for Tennessee. And I've seen about a half's worth of his actual game film. I mean, he's the stone cold truth. That's how you can really tell about a player. How do they look in a play in and play out basis? But yeah, I mean, he's the truth. He's the real deal. And I'm extremely excited about potentially being able to land Shady. And the next player is going to be Shamari Ayers, who's listed at 6'1" right here, but he's actually 6'2". He's a 4-star cornerback from Virginia, and that's an area that Tennessee's been doing a really good job with here lately. But he was just up on campus yesterday, man, and he loved everything that he heard about our volunteers. You can take a look right here and see the visits that he has set up. But just in visiting with Tennessee yesterday, he said a whole lot of great things. He was cheesing and smiling the whole time. I think that he's all Vol. He's an extremely versatile player. He can play, I think, anywhere in that secondary, but he can also play offense and defense. He loved that the staff told him that as well. They said, hey, man, look, you have the option of playing anywhere on offense or on defense, obviously outside of the front seven pieces. But, you know, he talked about loving the intensity and the physicality of practice. And I love to hear that, because any player that enjoys that means that they're probably going to be a dog. You want to have players come up on campus that love the physical part of football. He also said that he loves seeing all the players getting reps. He said, man, look, everyone gets reps. Everyone's getting after it. And he just felt like everyone is getting trained well. Something that every player that we've heard come up on a visit and seen practice so far has said is that there is a lot of attention to detail. The coaches are really honing in on those small things. And that right there is what creates really good football teams. So that's just a good note for us as fans. But, you know, he also said that he's going to be visiting Alabama tomorrow, okay, on Wednesday, and he's also going to be visiting Georgia coming up on Saturday. Now, he has visited, I believe, both of those programs. I'm not quite sure about Georgia, but I know that he has visited Alabama. This was his second time up on Rocky Top. He visited us back in January. I believe that was on the 20th. But he's a guy that literally said, hey, man, look, we are going to come off of these visits. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk about where do we go from here? Should we go ahead and shut it down? And I'm leaning more towards he's probably going to be shutting it down. If y'all saw the interview with him yesterday, you could just tell that he's gushing over Tennessee. He loves Tennessee. Sounds like from top to bottom, and the staff has done a really, really good job so far. Literally everyone who's come up, especially over the spring period, they've all come away very, very impressed with our staff. So we're doing a great job, and I felt the most confident about the first two players. I'm kind of doing it in order from my confidence level, but I would say really with Shady and with Earls, I'm at about the same level of confidence. I would say 95% plus. I feel like these players will be coming to Tennessee. Now, it's going to dwindle as we get on to the next players. There's only going to be two more that we will cover closely. But I would say for the next player, I'm at about an 80% confidence level, and that's going to be Caleb Cunningham, who was also on campus yesterday, and he's a 6'3", 5-star wide receiver from Mississippi. You can see right here with On Three, he's got an 84% prediction to Mississippi State. But you can take that with a grain of salt. I think that they may be kind of on the outside in at this point. These are the visits that he has set up right now, okay? The only one is Alabama, and he's going to be setting up one with Tennessee as well. So that should tell you a lot about where he's actually at as far as what schools he likes the most. And he has some great things to say about Coach Kelsey Pope, who's our wide receivers coach. He said, man, I think he's the best wide receivers coach in the entire country. And he talks about he likes his, attention to the little things. He said that, hey, man, those little things turn into big things. So again, whenever you hear this kind of stuff coming from high school players, you have to love it because you could tell, hey, they're coming from a good program. They understand the game of football. It is all about those little things. That means way more than anything else. Now, he also just kind of goes on to talk about Tennessee making him a main priority. And he said that, hey, Tennessee's a main priority for me. He was like, I love Tennessee. So, I mean, we're in a really good position with him, no doubt. And he's planning on scheduling an official visit on June the 13th, where he's planning on getting more one-on-one time with George McIntyre. So that should be a really big one. He also talked about seeing Nico out there. It's like, man, Nico's really good. Like, he's the real deal. And so he was impressed with Nico as a quarterback. I know that he loves our offense. He loves the tempo. Now, it's going to be a very similar offense to what Alabama has now with Coach Kalen DeBoer. It's just going to be slower pace. So will he want to come and play in a more fast-paced offense or not? We'll see. And, he also said, man, look, Tennessee is great at everything. And he was like, why wouldn't you come to Tennessee? So I feel really good about him. But at the same time, I haven't heard a whole lot of interviews from him just to know if he does this with every single school. But I would say that we still probably have our work cut out for us, but we're in a really good position for Mr. Caleb Cunningham. And in looking at his film, I mean, you can just tell he's got that size, he's got that length, he's explosive, he's got really good hands, he can high point that football. Reminds me a lot of Nathan Leacock coming out of high school, who was just, struggled so much early on. And, I feel so bad for him. But hopefully we can retain Nathan. And then a guy like Caleb Cunningham could come in and be the guy after Nathan, because I do think that Nathan Leacock was brought in to be the bigger bodied, strong catch, tough catch wide receiver after Brew McCoy leaves us this season. And, I'm seeing a lot of those same traits with Caleb Cunningham. All right. And the next player is Dantro Glover, who is a 4-star interior offensive lineman that was also on campus yesterday. And right here, you can see at the top that he is projected to be going to Florida State. I don't know about that just after listening to everything that he had to say, but you can see the visits that he has set up. And something else of note is that he's from Fairburn, which is where Eric Berry is also from. There's a whole lot of love down in that city for Tennessee. So hopefully we can close it out. And he did confirm that Tennessee is right there neck and neck with Florida State. He also talked about the staff wants for him to play guard or center. I think he's probably going to be thrown in there at center just because it sounds like we're already starting to have a little bit of trouble and we do need some depth there. And, he talks about he likes the way that the staff reaches out to him every day. So those are some really big things. He also talks about wanting to play in the SEC. So I'm not quite sure why, he has Florida State so high up on his list. But, he did also kind of say, well, it's not that big of a deal, but he just thinks that the best players play in the SEC. The SEC does the best job of putting players in the NFL. So we know that's going to be big to him. And on his visits, he's just going to be looking to see how he fits into the scheme. And playing time is going to be big for him. So I don't know exactly how Florida State's offensive line is looking right now, but I would say that Tennessee's got a pretty, good open competition at the left guard or at the center position. So hopefully we can close out on Dantro Glover as well. All right, so Tennessee's in a great position with all 4 of those players, but there's some other ones that I think Tennessee's in a really good position with as well. Starting off with David Sanders, that's the big 5-star offensive tackle from North Carolina. It's down between us and Clemson. He's going to be up on campus for the orange and white game, along with Jalen Matthews, who is set to announce where he's going to be going sometime soon, but Tennessee's in a great position with him as well. And also, we could talk about Cam Sparks and Radarius Jackson. We're in a great position with those 2 players. I think that Tennessee closes out on them. And, it's going to be one of the other big-time national wide receivers. It could end up being Caleb Cunningham. We'll see how far he goes into this process. But, things are really looking up. We're talking about several guys that are 4 and 5 stars. I can tell you right now, dude, Shady Hayward is going to end up being upgraded to a 5-star. He's going to play like one anyway, man. I don't care what his ratings actually are. The fact that he's not a 5-star to me is absolutely laughable because he's just so versatile. But I think that he's all Vol. Most of these guys probably are going to be all Vol. And the more good players that we get in, right, like the more blue chip players that we can bring into this class, the more that are going to want to continue to come. So I think that the future is really, really bright. Again, this class should be able to finish top 5, maybe even higher than that. We'll see. Can we go out and get some more of these big national players? There's a couple of other guys that I, feel like are kind of fringe that I did not mention in this video. We'll get to that in another video, maybe next week whenever we cover recruiting again. But that's it for this one. Thank y'all as always for sticking all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.